Hello students, welcome to the session of Social Studies. Today we will study a new lesson, that is lesson number 4, the Northern Mountains and the Northern Plains. So let us start the chapter. Now, before starting the chapter, let's do a warm-up session. Have you ever been to a hill station? Write yes or no for the questions given below. So you have to write this according to your answer. If you have visited a hill station, you will write yes. And if you have not visited any hill station, then your answer will be in no. Now, as I have visited a hill station, so I will do the activity. Did you see mountains and valleys? Yes. Did the mountain road give you a roller coaster ride? Yes. Did you see snow-capped peaks? Yes. Were the trees over there very tall and erect? No. Did you notice how elevation of the land increased gradually as you moved closer to your destination? Yes. So, according to the question, if you have visited, you will do the activity. Now, in this chapter, we are going to learn about what mountains are and three parallel ranges of the Himalayas, then importance of Himalayas, life in the Himalayas, and northern plains of India. Now, the first topic is the northern mountains. So, the northern mountains, the mountains especially, which is known as Himalayas. It starts from the northern part of India. Now, northern mountains are areas of land that have risen high above the surrounding areas. Temperature falls with increase in altitude. Altitude means height. The more the height, the more the temperature falls. When the temperature falls and then the temperature keeps on cooling down. Therefore, mountainous regions have a cool climate. In case of very high mountains, peaks remain covered with snow around the year. The mountains form a natural boundary to the north of the country. They are known as the Northern Mountains. They include the Himalayas, Karakoram, and some hill ranges in the southeast. So see, the mountains, it forms a natural boundary for the country. Then these mountains are known as the Northern Mountains, and in the Northern Mountains it is known as the Himalayas, the Karakoram, and there are some hills which hill ranges are there which lies in the northeastern region, Okay. Now, the Himalayan mountains. The Himalayas is a majestic mountain range. It is the highest mountain range in the world. So, the Himalayas, it is the highest mountain range in the world. It extends for about 2,400 km from east to west, and its width varies from 400 km in Kashmir to 150 km in the northeast. So the this is the Himalayas. So the Himalayas, it extends from east to west, and the distance is 2,400 km. And from in the Kashmir region, the distance is 400 km, whereas in the northeastern region, it is 150 km. In India, it stretches in a curve from Jammu and Kashmir in the west to Arunachal Pradesh in the east. So the Himalayas, it stretches in curve in this way, in the curve shape from Jammu and Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh, and Arunachal Pradesh is in northeast. Jammu and Kashmir is in the north. Thus, separating India and China through a natural boundary. So, this curve, it forms a natural boundary for a neighboring country, China. China lies here. China lies here. So, it forms a natural boundary for a neighboring country, China. Some of the highest peaks in the world are in the Himalayas. So, there are 50 highest peaks in Himalayas. Out of the 50 highest peak, out of the 50 highest peak, there are two highest peaks which lies in the Himalayas. They are Mount Everest and Kanchenjunga. Mount Everest, the altitude, the height of Mount Everest is 8,848 km and it is located in Nepal. Then Kanchenjunga. Kanchenjunga's altitude is 8,586 meter in India and in the states of Sikkim. Kanchenjunga is in the state of Sikkim. So Kanchenjunga is the second highest mountain peak and Mount Everest is the highest mountain peak in the Himalayas. Then next topic is parallel ranges of the Himalayas. Which are the parallel ranges, mountain ranges of the Himalayas? The Himalayas are divided into three parallel ranges. Now let us see which are those. The Himalayas are divided into three parallel ranges. The Greater Himalayas, called Himadri, has an average height of 6,000 meter and is the highest range in the Himalayas. The first is the Greater Himalaya, which is known as Himadri. The average height of the Greater Himalaya is 6,000 meter and it is the highest range in the Himalaya. Second, the middle or lesser Himalayas, called Himachal. So the mountain ranges in Himachal is the middle or lesser Himalaya, lies to the south of the Himadri and has an average height of 3,700 to 4,500 meter. So the average height of the lesser Himalaya or Himachal is 3,700 to 4,500 meter. Next, the outer Himalayas. The outer Himalaya or the southernmost range of the Himalayas are known as the Shivaliks. The average height here is from 900 to 1200 meter. Now, Mount Everest is the Himadri region. In the Himadri region is the highest peak in the world. So everybody knows that Mount Everest is the highest peak in the world. Next, one by one we will learn about these parallel ranges of Himalayas. First is the Greater Himalayas or Himadri. The Greater Himalayas or Himadri is the northernmost and highest range of the Himalayas. The peaks are permanently covered with snow. Mount Everest, the highest peak in the world, lies in this range in Nepal. Kanchenjunga, Nanda Devi and Nanga Parbat are the highest peak of the Greater Himalayas in India. So, the Greater Himalaya. In the Greater Himalaya or Himadri, Mount Everest lies. And Mount Everest is known as the highest peak in the world. And it is located in Nepal. Apart from Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga, Nanda Devi and Nanga Parbat are the highest peak of the Greater Himalayas in India. Next, the temperature remains very low throughout the year and cultivation is not possible at such a height. Thus, this area is not fit for human settlement. Since these mountain peaks are covered with snow throughout the year, that's why in this region cultivation is not possible, and the people also cannot settle in this region because of the low temperature. Temperature goes up to -degree, so people over there cannot survive, and the cultivation is also not possible. Next comes to the middle or lesser Himalayas. This range lies between the Himadri and the Shivalik ranges. Now, the middle or lesser Himalaya. This is the greater Himalaya. Next comes the lesser or middle Himalayas. Then comes Shivalik ranges. So the greater Himalayas are the highest range of the Himalayas. Next comes the lesser or middle Himalayas. And then comes the Shivalik ranges, which is the outer Himalayas. This range lies between the Himadri and the Shivalik ranges. The mountains here are not as high and the temperatures are not as low as in the Himadri ranges. So, the lesser Himalaya here, the temperature is not so high like the Himadri ranges. Rohtang Pass is a high mountain pass in this range that connects the Kullu Valley with the Lahaul and Spiti valleys of Himachal Pradesh. So Rohtang Pass is a mountain pass, means where the travelers can do their businesses, you can say. They can travel from this pass, from this Rohtang Pass, and it is in between the mountains. There are roads in between the mountains where people can travel. But when we come to the greater Himalaya, people cannot travel because the altitude of these Himalayas are very high, and it is mostly covered with snow. So that's why people cannot survive there, and as well as they cannot even travel in between the mountains. This range has cold winters and mild summers. The mountain slopes are covered by dense forest of pine, oak, deodar and fir, which provides forest products like wood, fodder and fuel. The hill slopes are used for practicing terrace farming. Now what is terrace farming? It is like a step farming, just like stairs farming. They cut the slopes into steps and they do the farming stepwise. Now, fruit orchards and tea plantations are present in this region. Therefore, unlike the greater Himalayas, the lesser Himalayas are well populated. We can see that in the greater Himalaya, people cannot live there because of the low temperature. But in lesser Himalayas, people can stay and do the cultivation because the temperature is low and it has two types of weather, summer and then it has a mild cold winter also. Many popular valleys like valleys of Kullu, Kangra and Kashmir and hill stations like Mussoorie, Shimla, Nainital and Darjeeling are located in this region. So, in the middle or lesser Himalayas, we can see the places like Mussoorie, Shimla, Nainital and Darjeeling. We can also see the valleys of Kullu, Kangra and Kashmir valleys. Next comes the lower Himalayas, which is known as the Shivalik. The Shivaliks or the outer Himalayas is the southernmost and lowest range of the Himalayas. Shivalik is known for the presence of special scenic valleys called dunes. For example, Dehradun. So Dehradun lies in the Shivalik Valley. Patli Dun, Kotli Dun and Pinjore Dun. The hills in these regions are covered with dense forest and inhabited by rich wildlife. So in this region we can see very dense forest and we can also see many wild animals. Its slopes are used for cattle rearing and growing crops like rice, potato and maize. In North India, this range marks the end of mountains and the beginning of plains. So, the Shivalik range, it is marked as the end of the mountains, and then the northern plains started. In between them lies a terror which is a dense marshy land. Crops like rice, wheat and sugarcane are mainly cultivated here. So in this range, people can grow crops like rice, wheat and sugarcane. Next is activity. Find out the reasons for the following. The Himalayan region is full of conical shaped trees like pine, fruits and fir. So what is the reason why we can see in the Himalayan region only the pine tree, the spruce and the fir? You have to write the reason. Next, mountaineers carry oxygen cylinders while climbing high mountains. So why the mountaineers has to carry the oxygen cylinder when they climb the mountains? You have to write the reason. Next is Himalayan rivers are perennial in nature. Perennial means water which flows throughout the year. It is known as perennial. So you have to write the reason why in my Himalayan rivers the rivers are perennial in nature. Now the next topic is importance of Himalayas. What is the importance of Himalayas? The first one is the Himalayas acted as a natural barrier against foreign invaders in the past. Historically, it has prevented unfriendly arrivals and attacks from the other side of the mountains. So because of the height of the mountain, the people from the other countries, they cannot come and attack our country. It protects our country from crossing the borders and as well as from the attacks. Next, it forms a natural boundary between India and neighbors like China. So it forms a boundary between China and India. It protects our country from the cold winds of the north. So it also protects us from the cold winds which comes from the north side. It prevents the rain-bearing winds from leaving the country, resulting in heavy rainfall in India. The melting snow of the Himalayas gave rise to some of the major rivers like the Ganga and the Yamuna. So when the glaciers starts melting from the Himalayas, it gives rise to many rivers like Ganga and Yamuna. These rivers are perennial rivers because they have water throughout the year. So this river, we can see that it keeps on flowing and flowing because of the melting of the glaciers from the Himalayan mountains. Many valuable products like timber, resin and medicines are obtained from the forest in this mountain region. So many medicines we can get it from the mountain regions. And resin means we can say kismis, and timber, the wood also we get from the mountain regions. Next, It also sustains a very rich variety of plants and animals, which is not seen in other parts of the world. So, in the mountain region, we can see varieties of plants and animals, very unique plants and animals we can see in this mountain region. The forests of the Himalayas are home to many animals such as yaks, goats, snow leopards, mutes, deer, and wild sheep. So in the forest of Himalayas, we can see animals like yaks, goats, snow leopards, mixed deer, and wild sheep. Next, how is the life in the Himalayas? Life is somewhat difficult in the mountains. Many places still do not have proper roads and connectivity to the outside world. Sheep rearing is practiced by the people in this region. Sheep rearing is practiced by the people in this region. Fruits and a few crops are grown as a means of livelihood. Many people are part of the cottage industry. Cottage industry means people who weaves carpets, then do the furniture works, and also makes woolen clothes. Fruits like apple, orange, peach and plum are grown and sold. During winters, people have to adjust to the harsh weather condition. Some of the Indian regions situated in the Himalayas are Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. So, life in people who stays in this mountain region, their life, they're struggling for, they have a connectivity problem because of the weather. The connection becomes very low. And then because the places it is covered by snow, the mountains are covered by snow, that's why cultivation is also very less. They cannot grow crops, vegetables also they cannot grow. So what they can do, they do cottage industry. Now cottage industry means they utilize, they earn money by making carpets, and then making woolen clothes, and also by doing many furniture works, because we know that in the forest area timber cultivation is there. So there the life of people is very difficult. Now the places which are situated in the Himalayan regions are Jammu and Kashmir, then Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. And over there we can always see that throughout the year there is snowfall. Now it was about the northern mountains. Now let's come to the northern plains. After the Shivalik mountain, after the Shivalik ranges, in the Shivalik ranges it is known as the end of mountains. Then when the mountain ends, the plains starts, and where the plain starts, the cultivation also starts. People grows different kinds of crops in these plain areas. Now let us see about the northern plains. Plains are large stretch of flat land. Such areas of land are usually fertile and have a climate suitable for agriculture. They are suitable for large scale farming. It is easy to construct buildings on plains. Most industries develop along the banks of river because of easy availability of water. People prefer to settle down in the plains because of these reasons. As a result of all this, plains are generally well populated and grow into cities. So plain area, we stay in plain area. Maharashtra is a coastal area and it also comes under the plain areas. No doubt in Maharashtra mountains are there, hilly, we can see the hills, the plateaus, but it is also a plain area, and here also cultivation is done. Then mainly the mountains where they are, in which places the mountain ends are in the states of Punjab. And Punjab, we can see the cultivation of rice, we can see the cultivation of people grows wheat also. And we can see people making buildings also in this plain area. Farming is very easier in this plain area. The northern or Indo-Gangetic plains are amongst the largest and the most fertile plains in the world. They are located to the south of the Himalayan range. They cover the greater part of the North India and are hence known as the Northern Plains. These plains extend 3,200 km across east to west and are 240 to 320 km wide, spanning from Punjab in the west to the parts of Assam in the east, covering states like Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal and Delhi. So in these places we can see the cultivation. Throughout their expanse, they remain a broad, flat and level region. These plains are extremely fertile because of two reasons. One, they are very well drained due to the perennial rivers originating in the Himalayas flowing through them. Two, the rivers bring along with them pieces of rock, sand and slate. The finer slate, when deposited by the rivers, forms the highly fertile alluvium. Now, what is alluvium? Alluvium means mixture of rock, sand and slate. The fertile plains make agriculture profitable. There are three large river basins that form the northern plains. The Ganga basin in the center, the Satluj basin in the west, the Brahmaputra basin in the east. These rivers cover a large area and form a network throughout the plains. First, we'll learn about the Ganga basin. The Ganga basin. The Ganga originates from the Gangotri glacier in the Himalayas. So the origination of Ganga was from the glaciers coming from the Himalayan mountains. It flows through the states of Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand and West Bengal. So the Ganga river flows in the states of this Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand and West Bengal. Yamuna is its main tributary. River Ganga meets River Yamuna at Prayagraj. The meeting point is known as Triveni Sangam. So Ganga meets Yamuna at Prayagraj and their meeting is known as Triveni Sangam. Rainfall is received during monsoon and eastern part of the plain receives more rain than the western part. Along with the river Brahmaputra, the Ganga forms the world's largest delta known as the Ganga-Brahmaputra Delta. After this, the river splits into many small rivers before entering the Bay of Bengal. So, before draining into the Bay of Bengal, the Ganga and Brahmaputra splits into small rivers. At its mouth lies the dense Sundarban forest, which is natural habitat of the famous Royal Bengal tiger. So, at the mouth of the Ganga lies the Sundarban forest and the Sundarban forest is in West Bengal and it is the home of the Royal Bengal tiger. Next. The Ganga basin produces more food than any other part of the country. Healthy yields of rice. Yields means supplies. Wheat, jute and sugarcane are produced here. Fishing, navigation, hydroelectricity generation and industries like cotton textiles and sugar mills are supported by the river. Some of the oldest and most densely populated cities in the world like Delhi, Agra, Prayagraj, Varanasi and Patna are situated here, which provide employment opportunities to the people living here. A good network of roads and railways has also been built in these areas. The food plains are extensively used for rice and jute farming. In Assam, the flood plains form thick marshes where mining of petroleum is done. These marshes are also famous for their one-horned rhinoceros. So, in Assam, we can find this one-horned rhinoceros. Next comes the Brahmaputra basin. The Brahmaputra originates in Tibet. So, the origination of Brahmaputra is from Tibet. It is known as Sangpo there. So, the name in Tibet, the Brahmaputra name in Tibet is known as Sangpo. It enters India in Arunachal Pradesh. So, the Brahmaputra flowing from the Tibet reaches India in Arunachal Pradesh and flows through Assam and reaches through Assam. Gradually, it flows southwards and enters Bangladesh. Then after reaching Assam, it keeps on flowing and reaches Bangladesh. Before it empties into the Bay of Bengal, it joins the Ganga to form the Ganga-Brahmaputra delta. So, before the Brahmaputra drains into the Bay of Bengal, meets the Bay of Bengal, it meets the river Ganga and it is known as a Ganga-Brahmaputra delta. You can see the picture here, a river and its delta. These are the deltas and this is a river. So, before meeting the Bay of Bengal, the Ganga Brahmaputra river meets and then flows into the Bay of Bengal. This region receives heavy rainfall and the fertile soil produced as a result of flooding is excellent for crops like rice and jute. Next, the Satluj basin. The Satluj originates in Tibet. Satluj also is originated from Tibet and enters India through the Shipkila Pass in Himachal Pradesh. Beas is the main tributary of Satluj. Beas means rivers. In India, the Satluj basin mainly includes the states of Punjab and Haryana. So, Satluj basin is mainly found in the states of Punjab and Haryana. The Bakra Nangal dam built on this river is used to provide electricity and water for irrigation. The main crops produced include rice, wheat, cotton and sugarcane. Amritsar, Jalandhar, Patiala and Ludhiana are some of the important towns situated along its coast. The northern mountains and the northern plains are the two important physical features making the northern part of India. They help us in different ways. So, in India, we can see that we have a large production of crops. Why? Because of the physical division of India. We have the northern mountains also, we have the northern plains also, which makes the crop cultivation, and as well as from the northern mountains what we get the wood, we get different kinds of plants and animals, then we get also medicinal plants from the northern mountains. Next, from this what have you understood? There are three parallel mountain ranges in the Himalayas: the Greater Himalayas or Himadri, Lesser Himalayas or Himachal, and Outer Himalayas or Shivalik. Yes, I understood. Then the northern plains are the fertile land areas located to the south of the Himalayas. Yes. The Ganga, the Brahmaputra and the Satluj are the most important rivers that drain in northern plains. Yes, because of these river basins, because of the river basin, cultivation becomes more easier. Now let us do the exercises. So first is filling the blanks. The Himalayas is the highest mountain range and the Mount Everest is the highest peak in the world. The lower Himalayas are also known as the Shivaliks. In North India, the lower range marks the end of the mountains and the beginning of the northern plains. The Ganga originates in the Gangotri glacier. The Satluj enters India at the Shipkila Pass. And where is the Shipkila Pass? It is in Himachal Pradesh. Now choose the correct answers and fill in the blanks. The Himalayas extend 2400 km from east to west in India. A slow moving river of ice is called glacier. The Kullu Valley and the Lahaul Spiti Valley lie in the Himachal range. Royal Bengal tiger reside in the southern Sundarbans and Great Indian rhinoceros in the marshes of Assam. The rivers Brahmaputra and Satluj originate in Tibet. Now that's all for today's class. We will meet in the next class with a new topic. Thank you.